Oh, hello. Sorry, just finished watching The Green Knight and I fell asleep. But let's talk about it. Hello, and welcome to another video here at Movie Mash. And today we're going to talk about a new film called The Green Knight. Now, The Green Knight stars Dave Patel, Alicia Vikander, Joel Edgerton, Sean Harris, and directed by David Lowery. Now, the synopsis, the story. Well, it's one of them ones where I'm going to say what I have to say without giving too much away, because little things could give things away. I'm not sure what could be a spoiler or what's not. But basically, it's about a young lad, Dave Patel. He's Gowrin. He's the nephew of the king, and he ain't done much with his life. And on Christmas Day, spending time with his family, the king and his royal subjects, this mystical being, like green mystical tree looking type thing called the Green Knight, turns up at the court palace and challenges somebody for a fight. Now, nobody wants to do it. Dave Patel jumps up, and Dave Patel, I keep calling that, Gowrin, he jumps up and says, I'll do it. Now, bear in mind, he ain't done nothing with his life up to this point, but just enjoy the pleasures of being the king's nephew. He jumps up and says, I'll do it. But the knight says, whatever you do here today, we'll have to have a rematch sort of thing in about a year, where I get to do the same that you done to me today in a year, which is a bit strange, but okay. So long story short, he done what he done without saying what he's done, because I don't want to say too much. But a year later, he's got to travel through mystical lands to a green chapel, where he has to fight the rematch of this Green Knight, where the Green Knight gets to do to him what, it's not really much of a rematch, but the Green Knight gets to do what he done to him on that day. And it's like a journey through mystical lands full of ghosts, giants, monsters, and all kinds of things. But without giving too much away, so I'll say more at the end. I'll give a spoiler at the end. I'll give some spoilers and a spoiler warning at the end. But I'll just jump onto positives. No, positives. Well, first of all, Dave Patel is a good actor. He's a little bit underrated, and hopefully this film, people notice him more about it, because he's people might know him more from is it Slumdog Millionaire, which is amazing. If you ain't seen that, go and see it. What's wrong with you? He also was one of the guys on the Last Airbender. I think he was the bad guy, which is a terrible film, so you probably ain't seen that. But I digress. So, going on. Right, so the positive. The acting is really good. Now, like, in all, there's no bad acting. In fact, there's no average acting. It's all good acting. It's really good. The scenery, the cinematography is amazing. Now, as far as I know, well, not as far as I know this film was made in Ireland, Wicklow, if you've heard of it. I was born in Ireland, so I know a bit about it, so it looks somewhat familiar. But it looks amazing, and it shows all the woodland, and they picked, I think Game of Thrones was made over there, so they're trying to capitalize on that. But anyway, the scenery is great, the cinematography is really good. The angles are great. All that is really good. The score is amazing, and all of that is just it's just really good in that sense. I mean, I can't fault it. But when it comes to like anything else, no, that's it. I fell asleep. Negatives. Okay, negatives. Boring as fuck. I mean, look, I went in to see this film not knowing anything about it. I saw the trailer. I've heard people going how amazing this film, and how artsy, and oh my god, it's a thinking person's film, and you got to work this out and put it all together. And I was like, all right, I'm intrigued. I can't wait. I've been waiting for that film because I haven't seen a film that's blown me away in about 2 years. I've seen some good ones, but nothing that's blown me away. Nothing new anyway. And I'm thinking at the first 30 minutes of this film, I'm thinking, yeah, this is the film. But unfortunately, after that, I started falling asleep. Now, when I say negatives, the story, as I said about the story, well, it's a small story, but it's 2 hours long, and it's a journey of it's his journey of courage. There's five chivalry. There's five to be a knight. There's five chivalry rules that he's got to follow, and he fails all of them. Now, unless you don't know about these rules, which I happen to do from other films and other stuff, you wouldn't understand what it was meant. So, which I'm thinking they're asking too much of the audience. I know it's a thinking thing, and you've got to put it all together, but you're asking too much of the audience to, oh, I knew this. No, you would have to have known some of it to begin with. Now, there is some really, really long-winded scenes, but I'm like, it's gonna get better. This film is supposed to be amazing. I'm gonna stick it out to the end. Stay awake, and no, it fell apart. Like it, as I said, like the story the story is good enough. It's not big. It's a small story, and you're dragging this shit out for 2 hours, and it's supposed to be all artsy and fartsy and all this shit going on, and I'm like, oh, go on, just get on with it. Now, when it comes to the end, I won't say much about it, but when it comes to the end, I'm expecting big things now, because I've put up with this. And don't get me wrong, cinematography, all that is great, score is amazing, but it's like looking at the Mona Lisa. Like, people love art, and if you sat looking at the Mona Lisa for 2 hours straight, you're gonna get bored. It's nice to look back at now and again, but for 2 hours straight, you're bored. And that's what happened with me. I understood a lot of the story. I had to, like, Wikipedia after that some things that I didn't understand, but I don't think I'm stupid, and it feels like you needed to know a lot more about this. It's asking too much of the audience. Now, I seem to be one of very few people that seem to, like, find this boring. All I'm seeing is raves. Since I've watched the movie, I've checked out other things and read up. People are raving about how good this movie is, but for me, it's just too boring. It fell apart. It's like the scenes were too long. There was no tension. They could have thrown in some tension where there's some scene. I'm not giving nothing away, but he's being robbed and stuff like that is happening to him, and there was no tension. I wasn't worried about him. I wasn't scared about what was going on. There was no tension added. There's some romance scenes and stuff like that. I didn't care. It was like, all right, but you're dragging this shit out for about, I don't know, 20 minutes. Like, it was ridiculous. Now, all the acting is perfect. It's really good, but what a slow burn. Now, I don't mind slow burns. I really don't. But sometimes, like, it's like, get to the point, you know. There has to be tension in between it. There has to be some fun or some action or nothing. There was none of that for me in this. Towards the end, I'm expecting big things, and well, oh, you got to think. Well, the ending you've got to think about. Now, I got it. Well, I think I got it anyway, but a lot of people may not have got it, and I'm not saying that other people who didn't get it are stupid, but the people that didn't get it will just be border than I was, and the people that did kind of understand it will think, well, I seem to be alone anyway on this, but for me, at the end, I thought, well, all this journey was for nothing. Now, I'm going to go into spoilers, so here's your warning: 3, 2, 1. So, spoilers. So he's been challenged as a man, and you know, he fails all the, I think it's what was it, the five rules of being a chivalry. It's I can't remember all at the top of my head, but one of them is chastity and friendship, and another one is courtesy and generosity. The thing is, he fails all of them, and like, I didn't know he'd failed them because they come up on the screen. I didn't know he failed them because what he'd done was so small of a fail, was unnoticeable. But if you look back, yeah, all right, he didn't do this, or all right, he didn't do that. But, you know, I'll give you an example. Someone gave him directions, and he said, all right, mate, thank you very much for your help. And the guy says, Is that all my help's worth to you? And he goes, yeah, thank you. And he goes, I want money. And he threw him some money. And I thought, all right, you know, maybe he didn't think to throw him money or whatever, I don't know, but he'd failed that. And I was like, all right. Later on, some girl lost her head, which made no sense at all in the film to me. Yeah, she's walking around with her head, but said her head has fallen into the lake. Can you go and get it for me? He jumps in. Before he jumps in, he goes, if I get this, how will I benefit from it? And well, then he failed. And I'm like, you know, I didn't think it was the worst thing. All right, I get it. And chastity. Well, he wasn't able to keep it in his trousers when he should have, really, because it was his kind of a friend's wife. Well, I wouldn't say a friend, but someone who was looking out for him, wife. And yeah, so he failed all that. So at the end of the film, we get to the point where he finally gets to the Green Knight. Now, at the beginning, because I didn't say it earlier on, and this is spoilers, the Green Knight lets him chop his head off. He chops his head off. He doesn't fight. He chops his head off. So there was a weak ass fight. I was expecting something. All right. Now it's his turn to chop his head off. So you've come all this way just to let someone chop his head off. And he's scared. And because he's scared, he has some kind of vision of running away and not letting this happen. Going back, becoming king, being a horrible bastard and having a shit life and ruining the kingdom and all that. And then he accepts his fate. And then the Green Knight goes, right. Well, we don't see him doing that. He goes off for your head. Now, many people can say, right. So my perspective is that he got to see how weak he was. He finally got to see how weak of a person he was, how of a shit king he's going to be. And he's going to be, now he's finally accepted, chop my head off. You chop my head off, I'm going to be a legend and I'm finally going to be a knight. But again, on the other hand, you don't actually see him cutting the head off. So does that mean he did? Now, look, I have to assume he did. And he's now kind of a dead knight, but he became what he was failing to do all the way through. But as I said, it's a small story and it's 2 hours and 9 minutes long. And as I said, like, he was robbed at one point and he was all scared and stuff. And I wasn't scared. I was like, make this a bit more work. He see himself, his own dead body. Now, throughout the film, you see a woman with a blindfold. Now, at the start, you see his mum. She's conjuring up a spell. So we know that his mum has conjured up this Green Knight. Now, it doesn't say why she did it, but I have to assume it's because she wants her son to be more of a man or stand up or be a legend than what he's been doing. And to be honest with you, it doesn't seem like he was a bad guy anyway, so just let him off. But all right, this is the story. Now, we see a woman, not the same woman, but we see another woman with a blindfold on, and his mum had a blindfold on earlier on. So we have to assume that his mum's watching him the whole time. You see, I understood. I think that was what it meant, but it's all these little things, and it feels like if you don't know the 5 rules of chivalry, then you wouldn't have understood his fails. And it's not that you're stupid, it's just that you didn't know, and you're supposed to know. And then, and then you, basically, if you got to look a film up, yeah, then that's too much. Now, I understand thinking films, like there's a lot of thinking films out there, but not when you've got to look things up and you have to know stuff before you watch it. And luckily I did know something about the chivalry stuff, which I'd seen previously in other films. But also King Arthur. King Arthur is his uncle. That was never mentioned. I didn't even know this until I was Wikipedia some stuff about it afterwards. And I was like, oh, that's King Arthur. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Good thing is that they're not using King Arthur to sell the film. And the bad thing is that, well, you didn't need to say he was King Arthur anyway. It didn't make a difference. But, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I checked my watch a few times and I couldn't wait for it to end. And I was waiting for this big climax at the end to see what would happen, and it wasn't there. Now, look, this is just my opinion. I seem to be alone on this. Now, I see, as I say, I see loads of people going raving about it. So I'm hearing nothing but good things. Maybe my expectations were too high. I don't know. But in between all these scenes, there were some long ass winded scenes. Oh, just on another thing. He took some magic mushrooms. Now, he ate because he was hungry. He didn't do them because he wanted to be high. He ate because he was hungry. Now, part of me thinks, is the rest of it hallucination? Because if it was, then what about the first part of it? You know, because the Green Knight, the mystical being, didn't look human. So, you know, maybe there's probably more to it than I even thought about. But I think I got the main gist of what was going on. And for me, it bored the shit out of me. I swear. Now, the good things to watch is the scenery, the acting, and the score is like they knocked it out of the park. And I feel like throw some tension in, throw some action in, make me worried, make me even care about his character, and it might have had more of a film. But no, I didn't get all that. But look, that's just me on my own thinking this. I'm probably one of, I don't know, I just didn't care about the film, and I probably won't watch it again. Now, I'd like to give this film a thumbs down, but I'm going to give it a side thumb. The reason why is because of the acting, because of the scenery, because of the score, and the cinematography, all of that. And, oh, by the way, the CGI was pretty decent as well, yeah? Because of all that, I'm going to give it a side thumb. But as it goes, the rest of it, that's it. But what did you think? Did you like it? Am I the only one here who didn't like it? Are you going to see it? Please let me know in the comments below, and like and subscribe as usual. But for now, and until next time...